Hey, what's up everybody? It's Joe from Gadgetry Tech, and in today's video I'm going to talk about the second public release of the CrinEar IEM lineup, and today it's all about the Daybreak. The Daybreak retails for $170 US, and it features a single dynamic driver, 2 BAs, and 2 microplanar tweeters. It has a low impedance of only 20 ohms, and it's very easy to drive, so regardless of the source, IEMs are typically easy to drive, and there's no exception here, so you can pretty much plug these into anything. Now this was sent to me for review by CrinEar. It won't affect what I say about it, but I always want to disclose that, and I don't have any marketing or special links with them to do any kind of kickbacks. I will have a generic Amazon link, but it'll also have a link for the Hangout.audio store, which is obviously part of the whole CrinEar thing. And if you don't know who CrinEar is, and this is your first time hearing about this lineup, CrinEar has been in this industry for a long time. He's kind of redefined and shaped a lot of the influence in the IEM market, which is great. And so much so, in addition to collabs, he is now running a store called Hangout Audio, him and his team. And some other cool faces are on there too. So this is the second product that is like first party. So it was all designed and built with their suppliers that they work with. It's to his tuning standards, his build quality requirements, and all of that. The Meta debuted originally at a slightly higher price point. It was a limited edition launch, and the Daybreak represents the first like full mass production IEM lineup you can get from CrinEar. So let's just get right into what's included in this wonderful box, which I don't know, is the meta for boxes increasing in size? I don't know if this is making a statement here. I think the artwork is really cool, but the box is definitely quite large for an IEM. I've noticed some higher end IEM boxes getting larger, but anyway, that houses the accessories. So this is a different design from what you typically see with certain IEMs, which usually give you a pouch or a hard case. I like this little case. I like that it's all black. And it's going to do a good job of protecting the IEMs, because what I learned painfully with a different set of IEMs is some of the soft cases, if you leave the IEM connected with the 2-pin connection and then stow it away, and there's pressure on it, after a while that could break the pins off or damage the head. Ask how I know. So this is kind of cool because you can wrap up the cord nicely, and it's more of a hard case. It will greatly improve the protection of the IEM. It has a different travel requirements, because you can't just like stick this in your pocket, of course, unless you want to bulge. But that's the case that comes with it. So additionally, it comes with a balanced head on the end. The cable itself is balanced, but the termination is switchable, which is cool because it's nice to not have to ship with 2 cables. Very easy to switch off. You have a right angle adapter on the 3.5mm cable. You basically just unscrew this little collar here. And once you've done that, this will just pop right off. And then I can put on the balanced one. And just like that, I have a 4.4 connection. So we're going to leave this on. There's not much to cover here because the accessory lineup is a little bit sparse regardless of price. You get 3 different silicone tips and a pair of memory foam tips. Normally in this price range, I have seen some other IEMs shipped with a wider variety of tips. That's becoming a more commonplace thing. At least 2 different style silicone tips, and then maybe 1 or 2 different memory foams. So the accessory lineup, pretty basic, but in all reality, this is kind of all you need. This has a 6mm bore, and I'll get into like the close-ups of it, but that does impact the way it fits in your ear, and it just worked out great for me. I basically just threw on the middle medium-sized silicone tips, put them in, got a perfect seal, and I kind of ran with it from there. As far as the cable goes, I really like the cable just because it's simple. It has a little bit of a flash to it, kind of like a reflective nature depending on the, the lighting, but it's a silver-plated copper wire. And when you look at the Meta, which is a copper wire with a clear jacket, that braiding style is basically the same as this, but the Meta cable's a little bit thicker. It's an IEM. You don't need to have a thicker cable. So to me, this more than gets the job done, no problem. I think the biggest area of contention is some people will want a 90 angle versus a straight, if that matters to you or not. But the rest of the cable is fine. It's not really kink prone. So I like that because it's very easy to kind of hold its shape of where you want it to go. So if you do that, infamous and awesome roadie wrap, you can see just how quickly, I'm just going to stop here to save time. I can lay it flat and it doesn't want to go anywhere, so that's really nice too. The ear hook itself also has a clear sleeve for the memory effect, so that's obviously what's going to hook around your ear, and I like it because it doesn't stand out. Everything kind of blends in, so there's nothing like jarring about the design of the cable. Very understated, very classy, kind of like the IEM. As far as the aesthetics goes, there's nothing crazy here. There's no glitter sparkles, there's no see-through acrylic, at least mostly. You can shine a light through it and kind of see through it just a little bit. Now the metal faceplate has a chamfered edge that's polished. You also have a laser etched logo of Daybreak on one side and CrinEar on the other. It's a classy, understated look. If Jason Statham were to wear an IEM on set, I think this is kind of the IEM he would go for. Now the nozzle, I mentioned it's 6mm. It's not a chunky IEM. If you look at the nozzle, and first just to show you, when I say 6mm, it's at the lip. Well, I actually got that pretty much bang on. When you look at the bore inside, or like just behind the lip, it's about 5.5mm on that nozzle. Nozzle length is a medium size. It's not overly deep, and I'm doing my best to kind of line this up here. I think we're going to get right about 8mm of length on the nozzle. As far as the shell goes, the shell is not huge either. So we're going to look at right about 21mm. We go by the height. I'm just going to clamp that in, 17mm. And as far as the overall shape goes, it's a nice, easygoing shape. It's very stable. You do have a little lip here, which I think helps give the IEM some stability. IEMs are tough because our ears are like snowflakes. We're all special, and the one shell that might work great for me may not always work for you. So that's always kind of an asterisk I have with IEMs, is they can be very picky in terms of comfort. This design is kind of tried and true though. You see a lot of IEMs follow this shell design just because it works well and it fits a lot of ears. So I lean on the safer side in terms of fit and comfort. Now there's two ways to explain sound quality. There's objective and subjective. And objective is the measurement side, and I use an IEC 711 coupler clone. I don't have a Brule and Care 5128. They're like $40,000 to $60,000, maybe even more now. But when this IEM was developed, Crinicles said that he was targeting the IEF preference target of 2025. And on a B&K 5128, I'm sure we'll even closer align, because these IEC 711 coupler clones aren't known to properly identify or like reproduce the bass, or I guess capture the bass that IEMs are producing. There's a little bit of a roll-off. It's fine if you understand that, but anyway, now when you look at the frequency response, there's a hefty dose of sub-bass here. It's not Kiwi Ear's KE4 levels of sub-bass, but it's definitely elevated, and it carries into the mid-bass. This mid-bass lift that you see at 100 to 150 hertz is actually why I wanted to review the Daybreak, because I listen to a huge variety of genres, and having a little bit extra bass in this area really helps for music like rock or something that needs more of the mid-bass and not so much just that thumpy deep stuff that you'll get with like hip-hop and certain EDM tracks. So it adds a little bit of a punch and warmth to the mix. Now the rest of the tuning, the mid-range, just to very quickly summarize on the objective side, doesn't have any obnoxious peaks. There's no obnoxious nulls, so it doesn't sound colored in a bad way. It doesn't sound like you're lacking too much detail. It's just a laid back mid-range, especially when you compare it to the bass shell. Now the treble tuning is where we're going to have the biggest variety in what we hear. I think there's more variance in treble for a lot of reasons. One, it'll happen at different points. So if my rig shows the treble peaks at 8,000 hertz, and in this case like 10,500, 10,600 hertz, you're not always going to hear that in the same spot. And the IEC 711 coupler clone emphasizes 8,000 hertz because that's a resonant frequency of the clone. I hear the higher frequency lift here, this 10,005, 10,006. I hear it closer to 10,400 hertz, which I know sounds ridiculous how close it is to 10.6, but I did a low volume sine sweep until I heard the highest amplitude peak, and it took a while to kind of find where it went and rolled off. The reason why I was trying to do that is because I was trying to EQ the treble to get closer to what I think would have been more enjoyable. And this is what's crazy. So this was intentional. Obviously, you'd assume that the treble tuning is intentional and not just some, dumb luck scenario. But when you reduce those peaks and I took away a little bit of the air, the headphone the IEM just sounded more congested. And you kind of need a little bit of treble to stand up to this much bass. And if you don't, you'll still get good mid-range, but it's going to sound a little bit thicker and more closeted. So you're not going to have that same open presentation that this gives you out of the box. So you have to kind of play with more than just the treble, I think, if you're going to start EQing it. Otherwise, you might find that it tilts too much downward and it sounds a little thick, and you lose some of the life that the IEM has. Now, when it comes to purely subjective listening and kind of going outside of frequency response, I wanted to bring the meta out because there's a couple things that stand out between the units, and in some cases, I actually prefer the Daybreak over the meta. So I talked about the bass lift, and it's a little bit warm, and that mid bass really is amazing. It carries into so many different genres that IEMs often don't deliver the mid bass that I like, because it's such a balancing act with the mid-range and treble to kind of pair with the mid-range. Otherwise it sounds too bloaty and boomy, and you don't get all the other nuances you want for the rest of the mix. So Sub bass is quite strong. You can listen to a lot of IEM or EDM and rap and all of the deeper hitting bass. You want to listen to Hans Zimmer, you're good there. But the mid-range is kind of like where this thing's special, just because it's not that special. It's laid back and it's extremely smooth. There's no coloration. It hides harshness with a lot of songs, and it also doesn't over-embellish songs either. So it's like this really nice balancing act in terms of presentation and preservation of the tracks that you're listening to. The treble will vary a little bit. Some songs you might find it a little bit too sparkly. You can EQ it down a little bit. This isn't really just like a V-shape IEM, because I think certain V-shape IEMs aren't as enjoyable to me. You know, the CrinEar Nova is fine. It's super detailed. It's Harman Bright-ish. But this guy, to me, is just a much better delivery than something like the CrinEar Nova, just because I wanted a little bit more mid-bass and I didn't want the mid-range to be as forward. I really like this kind of tuning because I can jump from listening to James Blake and then go listen to Chevelle or Tool, and then I can just go to Chris Stapleton to listen to some old rock. And there's actually a song by Chris Stapleton. It's called Death Row, and fantastic song. The bass and guitar riff in the beginning is just so good. It's like a 45-second set of the drum and the guitar building up. If you haven't heard that song before, give it a listen, just to jam out for the first minute or two. That song can be like a make or break song for a lot of products I listen to, simply because Chris Stapleton's voice really just hits you at like the 45-second mark. It is not mixed down. He is right on that mic and he's belting it out. And if you have an IEM or headphone or speaker that's too forward at like 2 to 4K, that just cuts right through. And as much as you wanted to jam out for how good the guitar, the drum set was, then you're turning it down because his voice cuts through too much. The Daybreak perfectly subdues his voice just a little bit. It's just enough where I can keep enjoying the rest of the guitar and drum mix while Chris is belting out his notes. That is a super special experience when you can find something that can properly play that song and do it justice, and that's kind of a shining moment for something like the tuning that you find on the Daybreak. I mostly touched on this with the objective side, but again, I think the treble is going to be the biggest, wild card, if you will, on your listening experience, not just from how it sounds out of the box and what you can hear, but certain genres might play into that a little bit more. Overall, just to summarize the subjective side, I think this is one of the best tuned sub $200 IEMs. And I am not a hype person. You can easily EQ a lot of other wonderful IEMs out there, but this type of bass profile, it has excellent tactility. It's insane to me how even as the price points drop, I'm still getting amazing textured bass. You know, it started with the Dusk that he was part of, and then it went with the Meta, and now I'm getting something for $170 that doesn't just have like a lot of bass. To me, I think the bass presentation is really well nuanced, and I like not having a one-hit wonder in terms of the bass department. So it's really well done on that side too. Now, if I were to compare this to the Meta beyond just the tuning side, the Meta itself is a comparably tuned IEM. What you hear more than what's shown on frequency response exclusively is everything has like a sharper edge to it. It has a little bit faster attack. It sounds a little bit more clinical and analytical, which is a blessing and a curse, because if you listen to crappy music, and I'm not judging you for what you listen to, if you listen to a song that's not produced well, whenever you get more analytical, higher end stuff, guess what? You're going to hear all of those imperfections in the song. You go to something that's slightly less analytical and slightly smoother, well, ignorance is bliss, and you can still enjoy some good music. It's not going to make everything sound incredible, but having a slightly less revealing IEM, such as the Daybreak, or many other IEMs out there that are smoother and less clinical. I said critical. Good times. So that's the biggest difference to me, is when you go into the Meta, you're just getting a more analytical sound. So now what was interesting to me is it's not all sunshine and rainbows on the gaming side, which some people are going to think is stupid, and you can judge me. That's fine. I play a lot of games as well on the side. I review a lot of gaming products. And one of the games I'm most competitive with is Call of Duty. I play a lot of Warzone with my buddies. We grew up playing it. That's the way for us to stay in touch as I get older and live my life. And I was surprised at how much I struggled with hearing soft footprints with this. And this is not purely on like FPS performance as a whole. This is usually a byproduct of frequency response tuning. This is emphasizing just the right things around the areas that I care about for audio cues, for footsteps and loot crates. It's not that you can't hear those. It's just not as forward as something like the Manger Top Pro or the SimGot EM6L or even the SuperMix 4, which I like the EM6L more than the SuperMix for gaming. The ZGOT and Fresh Reviews Arete. There's so many good IEMs out there for gaming. This can be excellent for gaming, at least for Call of Duty specifically, with some EQ. What this really does well at is more of the more casual gameplay, and honestly, it was great for Apex Legends. It didn't need any EQ, and to me, this performed exceptionally well. One of the better IEMs I've used for Apex. So that's kind of showing that your gaming performance will vary widely based off the game engine, because that will make a huge difference on what you hear and you don't. And the frequencies and audio choices that the game designers make has to kind of align with the product you're getting. And this tune in general, to me, is better for more casual, everyday immersive gaming, something you just get sucked into and play either with your friends or on a relaxing set. But purely on the esports scene, it's not going to do anything game-changing here. I think EQ goes a long way, and because the driver matching was so good, or multi-driver matching, left and right frequency response was nearly identical. Imaging performance is absolutely incredible on these. I just recommend doing some EQ. And I have some target EQs on my Squiggling site, so link in the description for that. So if you get these with the intention of using for Call of Duty, just flash it to that EQ profile, do the auto EQ, and line it up, and then they'll perform much better. That's just how they kind of perform for me out of the box. And that about takes me to the end of the video. And when it comes to the Daybreak, what makes it special is that it's not overly special. And I'm not saying that to knock it. It's just one of those things where if someone just says, I need a new IEM, I don't know what I like. I ask a budget, of course, but if it's under 200, this is one of the safest recommendations I can make. This is good for a huge variety of people out there, because if you don't know what you want yet, this is an amazing starting point. It's not punishing you with songs that are overly bright. It's not, taking away from some of the mixes that are recorded really well also. It has good natural timbre. Things sound the way they should. It doesn't sound like a mud box or a tin can. It's just clean. I get the bass engagement I want. I get just enough sparkle up top to not make it sound like I'm listening to this in a closet type sound, So it's a fun listen. The warm bass just fits a huge variety of genres, and the mid-range tuning means I can listen to orchestral music and then Slipknot and then go to Rez and then watch a movie. And this one IEM can do all of that. Maybe not be the best at that one particular track or movie or whatever you're consuming for content, but it's definitely more of your jack of all trades daily driver. It helps that it's comfortable, reasonably priced, and overall it's just a banging IEM. I wanted to review this. My schedule was like packed lately, really hard to juggle a lot of videos, but I specifically wanted to review this IEM because I heard it in Can Jam, New York, as I mentioned earlier, and I really liked it then. I could tell I was going to like it, and I'm pleased to see that the production version didn't stray away from what I recalled. Obviously, a show setting is different, but I've been really happy with this. So I hope after watching this, I helped you learn about this IEM and maybe make your decision a little bit easier. Again, I'm not getting kickbacks from this. I've even been contemplating if I should put the Amazon link in, because I don't want you to think I'm incentivized to sell these units. I just think it's an awesome IEM. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you found it helpful. Stay safe, and I will see you next time. Take care.